Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Debbie and I read a lot of books, and today's book is A Country Escape by Katie Fforde. But yeah, I literally just finished it today in the garden. I think it took me about 4 days to read it. First published in 2018 and it is, let's go to the end and find out how many pages it is. It's 373 pages, so yeah. It's not a short one, but I've read a lot longer. This was just such a nice book. You've got a love story in there, but I feel like the love story isn't the main plot, because, you know, a lot of it's all about like, oh, boy meets girl, girl meets boy, and, you know, there's the spanner in the works somewhere. And to be fair, there was a bit of a spanner in the works when it comes to the relationship in this book. Yeah, I feel that the kind of romance is more of a side story. So I'll just quickly read you the blurb. I say quickly, it's a short blurb anyway. Fran has made the brave decision to move into a beautiful but run-down farm in the Cotswolds. She has 1 year to make a success of it and to prove to herself and to the old lady who owns it that she can manage it on her own. But can she? She's gonna need a lot of help, not least from her very eligible neighbour next door. The blurb makes it seem more about the romance. I find it's more about her finding herself in a new world that she doesn't really know, because, as it says, she has a year to make a success of looking after this farm. Basically, Fran is very distantly related to Amy Flowers, who owns the farm, and it's basically that Mrs. Flowers, Amy, is now in a home. She's quite elderly, she's not able to look after the farm herself, and so she has contacted distant relatives because there's not a direct line. She has no children of her own, so she seeks out distant cousins to find out who might be able to keep the farm going. And is it about halfway through the book? Less than halfway through the book. Yeah, I'd say kind of between a quarter and halfway through the book comes in another distant relative, a cousin called Roy, who's from Australia, who is the real spanner in the works when it comes to Katie, because that's the author, when it comes to Fran's life at the farm. It's the kind of person where if he was a real person, I imagine he'd have a punchable face. Do you know what I mean? Roy is very unlikable. But yes, so Fran goes from working in a beautiful restaurant in London, and then she decides, you know, once she's been given this opportunity, she goes up to the farm in the Cotswolds, and, you know, there's no Wi-Fi, you know, she knows nothing about life on a farm. There's a work hand called Tig, who basically kind of takes control of the animals. In this case, it's mainly the cows, and he also lives on a house which is on the farm's land. It's just a nice book. That's the way I'd say it. But yeah, it's just really, really nice. It's weird to say nice over and over again, but it is a really, really nice book. It's also the fact that, you know, you go from Fran having this wonderful kind of London life to going out to the countryside and learning about an industry that she doesn't really know anything about, because she goes work in a restaurant and then she goes to the farm and she realises that there's so much that she can potentially do with it. And one of the main things is, obviously, because they've got cows, it's how to use the milk. Part of the story is the fact that when she first shows up, the track leading up to the farm is just not great, to the point where not many vehicles can make it up. So when it comes to like milk collection, there are times when it can't be collected, they can't make it up the track. So Fran decides to come up with an ingenious way of saving milk that would otherwise be thrown out, and she starts making cheese. As you do, because she's there going, what can you do with unpasteurised milk? And she decides to make soft cheese out of it, which is like the main plot, really. The fact that she's making this cheese and she's just thinking, if I'm going to do anything here, I actually like the idea of using this kind of side hustle with the cheese, part of the business of the farm, especially when they've got so much leftover milk. You know, you go from selling milk, you know, what do you do with the waste when nobody can get up the track and to make cheese? They do fix the track in the story, But it's because she makes cheese and people realise how delicious it is that she actually gets into this thing of going, actually, I really enjoy this and I want to make cheese and I want to make other cheeses. Have a drink if you're old enough every single time I say cheese in this video. And then you've also got the eligible neighbour next door, Anthony. Obviously it's the country, so it's not literally next door, he's like down the road, but he's the closest thing to a neighbour that she's got. And Anthony's family has, I think the best way to describe it is a feud. There's a feud going on between Amy and the family that Anthony comes from, to the point where Amy does not want Fran kind of mingling with him. Because she thinks that he wants to buy the farm and destroy the farm, because the farm has a very unique thing to it. But yeah, it's like the land never been ploughed because of the way the farm is. It's like the way the land is, and it's because it's never been ploughed that there's such an extreme flavour to the milk and the cheese and all the dairy that comes from the dairy cows. So Amy is determined to never let that happen. Then Roy comes in, a distant cousin from Australia, who is convinced that because he's the male line, seems like tradition with the men, and he hates Amy. He's a very, very horrible person, and he's convinced that Amy's going to leave him the farm, and then he's just going to sell the farm and get rid of it and build houses or flats or something on it. Whereas Amy doesn't want that to happen. Amy actually believes in the farm, so that's where the conflict comes in. It's that conflict between Amy and Roy. The point when you're just like, oh my god, is Roy actually going to get the farm? That whole, I just say, you know, if it was a film, I can imagine just everybody, well, to be fair, just reading it, I wanted to punch Roy. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of the story. Fran just comes across as so likeable. She just really wants to make a real go of it. I mean, obviously you don't want Roy to get the farm because he's going to destroy it, and the fact that she is giving so much of herself to it in a case of, you know, because obviously there's no money. There's absolutely no money to begin with, and Fran doesn't know where to start. And then Anthony, the eligible neighbour, who is also very, very rich, you realise that he has no ill intentions there, because he obviously likes Fran. And I must admit, I think there was only like one chapter when I just thought, are we supposed to like him? Are we not supposed to like him? You kind of realise very quickly that actually no, he's a good guy. Anthony is a good guy, and he cares for Fran, and he cares about what she is doing in regards to the farm, even though she knows absolutely nothing. She doesn't know what she's doing. You've got like throughout the whole year she's just wearing the same flowery wellies that she's just like, I need to get a better pair of wellies because these like cheap Primark ones. But yeah, it's basically the point that they're very, very cheap wellies, and throughout the whole book you hear her going, oh, why didn't I buy those new wellies yet? Why didn't I buy those new wellies? And by the end of it it's just like, of course you haven't replaced the wellies. Yeah, it's just a really nice book, and the way you just see this one person, you really, really want her to do well. Every single time she goes out and she's trying to sell the cheese and stuff, because she takes the cheese up to London to try and sell it to some of people that she knows in the restaurant business. You know, her dream is to make a restaurant. It kind of comes full circle in a way. I'll just say that. On the back it says, warm, funny and deliciously romantic. This is Katie Fforde at her very best. And yeah, it's just nice. There's nothing offensive in this book. There's absolutely nothing offensive about it. I'm so used to reading books where, you know, where they're just aimed at a little bit older, if you know what I mean. It's just a really nice, inoffensive book. I have just come off reading Bridgerton, The Duke and I, which obviously has some, I wouldn't say graphic, but almost graphic sex scenes in it. But yeah, it just feels like a really nice book that anybody can read. Absolutely anybody can read, and there's just nothing in there to offend at all, I don't think. At least not that I'm aware of. But yeah, so that's A Country Escape by Katie Fforde. When I told my friend Jenny that I was reading it, she was like, oh, I love Katie Fforde. And I understand why. I want to say I have read a Katie Fforde book before, but I can't remember which book it was. Easy to read. Not short chapters, not long chapters. They're just like, again, they're just kind of perfect length chapters. if you like reading stuff about like the country and farms, you know, when you get the description of the farm, I could just imagine this farm in my head because I'm a very visual person, like, and I've got quite a vivid imagination, so I really was able to create this world in my head, and it just very relaxing reading about farms. I don't know why. But yes, thank you so much for watching. That's the cover of the book again, and I'll pop a link in the description to where you can find it. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching this video. If you are enjoying, just click that little subscribe button, and you can click on the bell notifications if you want to know exactly when I upload. I do upload every single Wednesday. That's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week with another video. Mwah! Stay safe, everybody.